A Minneapolis jury returned its verdict today, convicting former police officer Derek Chauvin on all charges in the killing of George Floyd. And people took to the streets, hugging, cheering, crying with relief. This case carries significance for communities of color right here in Colorado. Denver 7 CB Cotton is live now. And CB, for some, this feels like one victory with many hurdles ahead.
And that's absolutely right. And this mural behind me of George Floyd here on East Colfax was put up last summer as a way to remember the man whose death sparked a movement. Today, it's a way for people to encourage one another to not let that movement come to an end. Here in Colorado, calls for social justice were led by young people. And tonight, we're hearing more about their commitment to move forward. Many of the chants that echoed through downtown Denver streets came from the voices of Generation Z and millennials. Following the death of George Floyd, summer 2020 brought demands for social justice, and young people led the fight to deliver it. And those efforts, they'll continue beyond Tuesday's conviction of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin.
I think what happens after this verdict will determine the relationship between, Black people and law enforcement, and that, that determination is going to be made after we see systemic change in each police department throughout the nation.
Van Michael Moore, alongside two of his peers, all CU Boulder law students, shared why they believe more needs to be done.
But it's still very much critical that police officers are held accountable. I think this is just a drop in the ocean, and the fight still continues on.
And these young men say a lot of the fight will be in the court of law and with police reform.
Being able to hold officers accountable, taking away qualified immunity, and making sure that these officers know that, if they use lethal force, they'll be held accountable for that.
We really have to do something about how police officers are trained. In this country, the training is extremely short and it's inadequate.
Colorado activists say further police reform is only one step in healing deep wounds.
We still haven't received justice for the death of Elijah McClain and so many other people here in Colorado.
But Dr. April Alexander of Denver's Black Lives Matter chapter says she hopes Tuesday's conviction sets a precedent.
I'm hoping that changes how police officers behave, that they are going to be held accountable for misbehavior, misconduct in policing.
While the world waits to see how and if the relationship between police officers and the community evolves, some people feel certain on one thing: young people will be leading the charge.
So that, in generations from now, my kids, and my grandchildren are not having to tell their grandchildren and their kids about, the talk and what it means to be Black in America.
A lot of these conversations, no doubt, will continue into the near future.